Hello, Facebook fans and YouTube fans of DX Engineering and ARRL. Welcome to the Weekend Special. And the Weekend Special is a show that you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you're going to get some technical info. Sometimes you're going to get some kit building info. And sometimes interesting people stop by and visit. And that's what we have going on today. We have Bob, NQ1R, from ARRL headquarters. Hello, Bob.
Hello, Tim. It's great to be here. It's great to be with everyone right before the weekend.
Right before the weekend. This is a great way to get things started. And there's always lots of exciting news going on at headquarters. And of course, at DX Engineering, we keep track of what's going on up there. And of course, we've got a lot of interaction. But today, we want to talk about a whole new program that has just come about. So why don't you give us an overview of the Club Grant Program?
Yeah, the ARRL Foundation Club Grant Program benefits from a recent grant from the Amateur Radio Digital Communications Organization, ARDC, which has been very generous throughout the amateur radio community. And they've awarded $500,000 in grants to ARRL in order to enable ARRL to award those monies, those funds, in two tranches this year to radio clubs. And one of those windows has already opened and was launched this week. And we're very excited to introduce a program that promises to reinvigorate our amateur radio clubs around the country.
So, Bob, last time that I checked, there were about 2,400 ARRL affiliated clubs. But this isn't just for ARRL affiliated clubs, right?
That's right. This is for any club. We're looking at this very collaboratively with ARDC as an opportunity to really make a significant mark in enabling vibrant radio clubs. There's some radio clubs out there that never got to the point of affiliating with ARRL and are struggling or looking for an opportunity to establish themselves. This is a great time. This is a great program to do that. There's radio clubs around the country that are looking at other radio clubs, seeing what they're doing and what's making them vibrant, following some of those best practices. We want any radio club that believes that they want to emerge onto the radar to take advantage of this program. If they believe that they have a good case to fund a project that will really help us grow amateur radio, help us grow awareness for amateur radio, help us grow the educational aspects and training opportunities in our amateur radio service.
So, Bob, this will be administered through the ARRL Foundation, which does a lot of good things, scholarships and grants. They've been doing grants up until this point, but the foundation got a substantial grant from ARDC that was to be used specifically for this club grant program. Bob, let's talk just at high level some of the things that if I'm in a radio club and it has to be a viable club, it can't be as Fred Kemmerer said, it can't be just two guys or three guys that have coffee every other week. It has to be, a real functioning, has officers, has a bank account, maybe has a club call sign, has bylaws and a constitution. And so let's talk about the types of things from what your overview is and what you see. What are the types of things that clubs might submit grant applications for?
Yeah, as part of a webinar the other night, New England Division ARRL Director Fred Kemmerer really spoke very passionately about the word transformative. Projects that will have a transformative impact on amateur radio, an educational impact on amateur radio, a training impact, a public awareness impact. So it can be a project that will grow amateur radio. It can be a project that trains and provides skills to our community through mentoring programs. It can be those STEM and STEAM-based educational initiatives with amateur radio programs that impact schools in our communities. spectrum protection. Some clubs may want to establish a station in some way, but in a way that's going to have a transformative impact both on the radio club and the community that it establishes that station in. It could be in emergency communications and public service. It could be to revitalize a good program in a radio club to make it even better. There are a lot of clubs that are already doing amazing things, and with a couple more dollars, they may be able to lift those programs to a new level of transformation for amateur radio.
So, you know, it really is an A to Z program, and I'm sure that the foundation and the committees are going to take a look at just the need and the uniqueness. And then from the webinar, I seem to recall that there was a lot of focus on, you know, yes, does it help the club, but does it help amateur radio for the better good?
That's right. So if we look at growing a radio club, we're also talking about recruiting for amateur radio. So, you know, that's an area or a bucket that we're looking at, is membership and recruiting for amateur radio, increasing the public awareness of amateur radio in your community. And then doing the next thing. It's not just about that rush to licensing. It's about making active radio amateurs and establishing mentoring programs. So we're excited to see what grant proposals some of our clubs write that will demonstrate sort of a uniqueness and a commitment to membership and recruiting. Skills development. You know, we all love to build things and try new things in amateur radio, and there may be opportunities for clubs to really put some skin in the game with skills development and establishing a consistent program in a radio club that will provide the training that will make members of their club very active radio amateurs and introduce them to the full scope and breadth of amateur radio. And then there's school. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, Bob, are you seeing the ARRL website now?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So let's while we're thinking of it here, if you go to the ARRL.org website and click on ARRL Foundation, this is the place to go, right, Bob?
That's right. And off to the left there in the navigation is a link that says Club Grant Program.
Okay.
And there's a summary of the ARRL Foundation Club Grant Program and some different links that will help you. There's a good, first of all, we want to educate a lot of radio clubs, and that's what we're doing right now, Tim. You and I and the webinar that was held the other night is really to introduce a lot of our radio clubs to this program. So there's a great summary there, and I know there's a lot of folks from radio clubs watching. This is a great narrative to lift and start to talk about the program to your club officers and fellow club members. And the next thing, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, and then the next thing is there are some resources there to lead clubs through the project of developing a grant proposal for grants. There's some grant milestones. There's a budget sample there. There's club revitalization plan there. These are great resources, great starting points to look at. The key here is that we want clubs to be successful in preparing their grant proposals. This may be the first time some clubs have ever written a grant before, and we're going to really handhold them through that process.
So here, Bob, let's see if we can get, do you see the slides?
Yeah, so this is the slide deck that was part of the webinar the other night. And it goes through an entire summary of the program, a good breakdown of all of the different things you might want to consider for a project for the club grant program, the different levels of grants. So on this page right there, we're really telling you that there's $500,000 in grants available, and they're going to be dispersed in 2 sets of grant awards. So the first one of those is open now. You don't need to be a 501c3 or a 501c7 to be to apply. You don't even need to be an ARRL affiliated radio club to apply. But those are all feathers in the club's cap if they have that already. That just demonstrates that the club already has some skin in the game in being a well defined radio club. and they can't be used for commercial use at all. These can't fund profit-making ventures at a radio club. When we go into the goals, we cover again some of those different areas that I highlighted, like recruitment and outreach and awareness of the radio club, its presence in the community, and what amateur radio does to serve a community. Training and skills development of your current and new members of your club, done through, say, mentoring programs. Those great relationships that many of our radio clubs have with schools to introduce young people through STEM and STEAM curriculum to amateur radio. For those of you who don't know what STEM is, that's science, technology, engineering, and math, or the newer one these days is schools that have curriculums built around education that includes science, technology, education, the arts, and mathematics. All of that is, of course, amateur radio fits perfectly with STEM and STEAM education for a long, long time. But developing the resources to work with young people and school teachers and in a school requires some resources. And this is a great opportunity to look at that as well. Emergency communications, public service, club revitalization projects, even small clubs that are trying to overcome things like a space to hold their club meetings may look at this as an opportunity to resume meeting at a very public location in their community that's going to increase the visibility of their radio club, maybe at a local library or school or a religious a location where they can rent a hall and resume having club meetings, but not just business meetings, meetings that revitalize the club and urge members of the radio club to become very active in amateur radio. And in the next slide here, we see sort of a breakdown of the levels of awards that will be given. Those smaller awards up to $2,000, $8,000 awards at level 2, and up to $25,000 at level 3. None of these are hard and fast categories, but you'll see we've broken down the type of programs, the type of projects that might qualify in each of these categories. Recruitment and membership ones may be at the lower end or up to level 2. The more substantial investment that might be required for a spectrum advocacy effort or the effort to make a significant amateur radio digital mesh network in an area that's going to lift the activity of emergency communications in that community might find itself in a higher award level. Really, there's, again, no hard and fast rule on any of this. The key here is that there's an opportunity for clubs to propose any size project.
So, Bob, you know, we don't have time to go through all the slides, but those slides are available right here. And of course, via the YouTube, you know, webinar that was held on May 5th, and that's right here on the ARRL YouTube channel. So there's lots of resources for getting information about, you know, this program. And, you know, if you have a question, now is a great time to put that in the chat. And, but before we go to the questions, Bob, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the mentorship program, the mentoring program that is part of this.
Yeah, I'm actually not as familiar with that as Mike Walters and Fred are, who presented the other night. So I encourage you to really go through that slide deck, the webinar, and also the second video that's up there that will lead you through actually completing the application. But there is a strong element throughout this process of accountability and assistance to help folks get both through the application process, but also once you get underway of providing certain milestones throughout the use of these funds to demonstrate both to ARRL, but also eventually to the rest of the amateur radio community what's working about some of these grants. So there's a strong mentoring component to this that the program includes, and Fred and Mike do a great job describing that in the video. Okay,
so we really, if you're interested in this, it's really a good use of your time to watch that webinar, because I think, Bob, they had over 100 different questions that they fielded.
Yeah, there was nearly 460 people, I think, that dove into the webinar, and we were really impressed by it. So it was quite nice. But there's two videos out there, Tim. There's the webinar, and then on Jason's channel, Ham Radio 2.0. Jason is KC5HWB on Ham Radio 2.0. Jason steps anyone through an overview of completing the online ARRL Foundation application process, and that's on his channel. And on the ARRL YouTube channel is the 90-minute webinar. But I'll just offer that the first hour is really the presentation, and then the last 30 minutes or so is all questions, and you can stick through it as long as you like. If you're enjoying all the questions that they're answering, stick with it all the way through the end.
Yeah, no, it's very good. I do want to recognize some of the folks in the chat room. Kilo Bravo Zero Sierra Queen Whiskey is on, and from Anguilla is Victor Papa 2 Echo India Hotel.
Oh, that's great. Nice
from
to see
England, it's 2 Echo 0 Radio Echo Echo. And November Juliet 4 Zulu, he says, hey, Tim and Bob, we are very excited at Y Cars, which is a great club, by the way. I've spoken to them, to apply for these grants. This just is an amazing program, and it really is. I mean, and it's coming about at a really crucial time for a lot of organizations. Whiskey 9 Papa Papa Yankee and WD8 November Victor November is on his way to the DARA Club meeting tonight in Xenia.
That's awesome. We'll see him there in just another couple of weeks.
There we go. And George says, great stuff. Is this just limited to the USA?
Yeah, I actually believe it is. It's really to affect significant change to the amateur radio community in the United States.
Okay. And Mark, who is the chairman of the Huntsville Hamfest, says the Huntsville, Alabama Club, partnering with some commercial vendors, just submitted a proposal direct to ARDC for a fully equipped 2-station go-to-trailer for education and outreach.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so, yeah, I mean, you can submit grant applications to ARDC directly or to the ARRL Foundation. And there's, different pots of money here and different grant guidelines, but you can go to ampr.org to get right to the ARDC folks, who are really good folks as well. Papa Echo 2 Kilos on from the Netherlands, Kilo Papa 4 Radio Yankee from Puerto Rico. And
nice to see it.
Michael Coulter, W8 Charlie India. Sounds like an excellent way to extend awareness and excellent in amateur radio, a superb way to collaborate with some smaller clubs. And that's what the mentoring program, I'm really excited about that as well. John Knott, one of the co-chairs down at the Hamcation. Nice to have you on, John. And from
Hi, John.
It's Oscar Zulu 4 Papa Alpha Tango, Jimmy Cessna, Kilo Bravo 8 November Mobile, Whiskey Alpha 4 Mike Oscar Mike. We need clubs to stimulate interest through science teachers in the local school systems. Absolutely, Dan. And hopefully this program will help that. And our friend John, Kilo Bravo 3 Hotel, the application process has always been a challenge in any academic or organizational grant endeavor. Very wise of the ARRL to assist and simplify the process. And I know you've spent a lot of time on that. I saw in the webinar that Mike and Fred and Steve, I mean, just an outpouring of, we're here to help.
Yeah, there's an email address set up for the program. If anyone needs assistance, that's on that page as well. clubgrants@arrl.org. There's coaches available to assist folks who are having any difficulty completing a grant proposal, and an ARRL mentor will work with you from soup to nuts when it's time to create and execute the plan. So it's a very, very exciting program.
Yeah, that's just super. We've got Whiskey 1 Juliet Golf Mike is on, and our friend from London, Mike 0 Delta X-Ray Radio, and he's coming with his father, German
All right.
Whiskey Radio Oscar.
It's truly going to be a reunion in Dayton, I think.
It is. It is. And we've got Kilo 6 Lima Charlie Sierra, affiliated club coordinator in the orange section. I always love the volunteer folks that make up
Such
the
pride.
ARRL field organizations, you know? I
There's
mean,
such pride and loyalty in that. There really is. It's great.
A lot of pride and what great volunteers they are, Bob. I mean, when you think about the field organization throughout all of the ARRL sections and all the people that are out there trying to help build, you know, new amateur radio operators, VE sessions, clubs. I mean, it's just phenomenal. We've got November 8, Charlie Whiskey United. Larry is on as well. Well, Bob, you know, this was a quick 20 minutes, and, you know, we could go on for a long, long time. But before I let you go, I want to thank you for all you do for amateur radio and the things that you've done at headquarters. How many years have you been there now?
31 years, 31 years. And I'll tell you, a new program like the Club Grants program comes around and I go, okay, it is possible to continue to reinvent and come up with something new. And I'm just amazed at the change to the organization and to amateur radio over those 31 years. But yeah, it adds up quick, Tim.
Well, that's great. And thank you so much, Bob, for all you do. And certainly looking forward to seeing you and all the volunteers and the headquarters staff here in a few weeks at Hamlet.
Well, thanks, Tim. You know what I can't wait for is in 5 years from now to see the impact of these grants on our wider amateur radio community and our radio club network. So well, it's going to be amazing.
You need to make sure, Bob, that you let the team know that some of those we want to highlight and get them on the show here and talk about how their grants changed, you know, amateur radio in their community, their club, their outreach, and how it made a difference. So let's get some good stories.
That's great. I love it.
And keep track of all that. Bob, thanks so much for being on today. And
Tim, thank you.
We wish you continued success. And to all of you that have been watching and will watch the replay, hope you're having a great weekend. Get on there's tons of QSO parties this weekend. There are about 5 different QSO parties this weekend.
I'll be on the air.
Get on the air and have some fun with the best hobby in the world. Until Tuesday, 73 from DX Engineering and the ARRL.
73 DX Engineering community.